Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's February. We're here. We made it. We're not quite sure what the weather is. Snow, rain, sun, or clouds. I'm not really sure these days. Um, we're glad everybody made it today. Looks like we have 18 people here, which is great. Um, we are the Greater Cleveland Wild Ones chapter. If you didn't know, or you might be lost, hopefully not. So it's our monthly chapter meeting. We meet once a month, the third Thursday, um, to chat with you guys, our members, our non-members, and let everyone know what's going on with us, former events that we've had, future events, an educational topic, and then we usually have a discussion at the end. So today we are going to talk about wetlands for our educational topic. Ray, what day was the National Wetlands Day? The second?
Well, some people know it as Groundhog Day.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, February 2nd is World Wetland Day, which
Yes.
is the day that the treaty was signed by something close to 190 different countries pledging the wise use of wetlands.
Okay. So in honor of that, um, and it's still the month of February, Ray's gonna talk to us about wetlands today. Then we're gonna go through our chapter updates. We're going to give an introduction about the House Bill 364. Just a warning, there's a lot of text on those slides. Please do not feel overwhelmed. We're going to go through it briefly. We do have a PDF of everything that's on there, so we can gladly give it out to anybody who would like that. We're going to chat about our past and upcoming chapter events. And then our discussion is going to be the native book show and tell. So, as a little welcome, our mission here at Wild Ones is to promote native landscapes through education, advocacy, and collaborative action. So that's why we're all together today. We thought we'd bring in a little maybe sunshine for February since the weather's been so crazy, to see what's blooming right now. So this little guy on your screen is, and I might not pronounce this correctly, the harbinger of spring. So its flowering period is kind of starting now until mid-April. I've seen, I think, one or two people post on Facebook, within different groups that they have seen it around, I think maybe Cincinnati. So it might not be to us yet, but something to keep an eye out for. It only gets an inch or two in height. It's firstly like leaves come up, and it has tiny white flowers with purplish anthers. Um, it's likely occurs in every county. This is in Ohio, although scarce in some Western locations. And you're going to find it in moist, well-shaded woodlands, especially on stream terraces. So that was, thank you, Odionar, for that lovely description. But keep your eyes out. Might be one of your first spring ephemerals that you see out in the woods if you're out. All right. So we got the importance of wetlands presented by Ray. Do you have everything ready, Ray?
I can share my screen and hopefully that will work.
I see.
Oh, you have to stop sharing for me to start sharing.
Yep. Whoop.
Okay, now that I've launched it, I did that in the wrong order. I have to start sharing screen and then I can launch it. see what happens now. What is that? Can you see the importance
There
of
you go.
wetlands?
Looks great.
Okay. Um, so, by the way, another harbinger of spring kind of flower in Ohio that is in bloom now is a wetland plant. Can anybody tell me what it is?
Is it skunk cabbage?
It is skunk cabbage.
Oh, you
That's
win
a
again,
great,
Hannah.
that's great. I feel like I should have picked that instead because I feel like that's a little bit more plentiful around right now.
Well, the harbinger of spring is a little more challenging to find, but it's worth it. So anyhow, the importance of wetlands, I'll get through this, and then if there's questions, I'll see where the discussion goes from there. So this was a presentation that I originally put together for Ohio Wetlands Association, where for about 10 years, I was the founder and president of that nonprofit. I've been involved with wetlands for about 30 years, 20 years before founding Ohio Wetlands Association. That is still going on, and we've got a wonderful conference coming up the beginning of next month called Vernalpalooza, a very special kind of wetland habitat in Ohio, seasonal wetland, mostly in wooded locations. That's coming up. Ask me more and I'll tell you more. We're looking at this today, partly because it is the month where World Wetland Day occurs, but it's also a chance for us to think about the value of rain gardens, which are gardens that hold water an extended period of time rather than just shunting them off into the storm sewers. And they're a great place to put a nice set of wet-loving plants, add some diversity into your environment by having wetland plants. And so when I go through these points about the importance of wetlands, see if you can think about how it may be the importance of having a rain garden and how that might affect your immediate environment. So those of us who have been paying attention to environmental issues can get extremely depressed when it all comes weighing down on us. And so here's, just a word storm of environmental issues that come up. We know that, our planet is becoming less hospitable, even as the population continues to grow. The resources are stretched. There's more and more people every day that are doing less and less well. We know that biodiversity is collapsing, and some people are beginning to call this, some environmental people are beginning to call this the sixth great extinction. The fifth one you might remember was when the dinosaurs were all killed off about 66 million years ago. So yeah, things are looking pretty rough for us here on planet Earth. And part of that is exacerbated by climate change. Part of it is population. So some of the things that we're experiencing now, climate change is already with us. We haven't had it as bad here in Ohio as some parts of the country, but we are likely in this part of the world to see hotter summers, longer dry periods, milder and wetter winters. And we're going to see interrupted rain patterns where it rains less often, but when it does rain, it rains a lot. So heavy downpours, that is happening much more often than it did a century ago. So weird dynamics in weather. Some people are calling it weather weirding rather than climate change, but either way, things are different. So here's a drought scenario with climate change. The different colored bars in this chart here show possible scenarios in 30-year gaps here. We've got currently the likelihood of water shortages or drought in the Midwest is slightly more than it was 50 years ago. In the next 30 years, depending on what we do, it could be much, much worse or just a little bit worse. So if we don't do anything, that's the red bar future. If we do everything we can, we've got the orange bar future to look at. So these were some of the projections, I think 10 years ago when I put these slides together. So we're seeing flooding. So here's places that it has never flooded before, and it gets flooded really bad. Anybody remember what this city is? This was,
I think it's Houston.
Or Nashville. I think something like that. Anyhow, this is the US of A. They never had a flood like this before. Part of it is our land management, and part of it is just weather patterns that is doing this. This kind of thing that was called a 500-year flood, very likely that everybody within their lifetime will witness a 500-year flood, as strange as that is. So here in this part of Ohio, we're seeing harmful algae blooms on Lake Erie. If that image doesn't make sense to you, it's Detroit in the upper left and Cleveland in the lower right, and that's Lake Erie in the middle during an algae bloom, a satellite view. So we get heavy rains. They, especially if that happens in the spring, when crops are first planted and fertilized, you get nutrient runoff that feeds algae growth. We get warmer weather during the summer that really incubates those algae and makes it even worse. And these blue-green algae that are the most problematic can produce toxics. And there's millions of people that depend on Lake Erie for their drinking water, which means now we have to spend millions and millions of dollars upgrading drinking water systems in order to deal with that sort of thing. So is everybody depressed now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, these flash flooding, thunderstorm kinds of events are going to cause erosion, wash things away. You know, just we're in trouble, basically. Losing groundwater, you know, because if it rains suddenly, it all runs off. It doesn't soak in. And so even wells that are drilled deeper and deeper still create this cone of depression, and that groundwater doesn't get recharged. So we're depleting aquifers. Some of that water that was contributed to where these deep wells are going is from the last ice age. It's not going to be replenished anytime soon. And of course, extinctions here in Ohio. Here's just a short list of some of the birds that Ohio considers endangered. So, all right. So anybody that was holding back and not feeling depressed about that, I hope I got you with those last couple of slides. So is there hope? Is the next part. And my answer is yes, yes, indeed. And it's people like us, it's organizations like Wild Ones that are providing us with hope. But I will add, it's wetlands that provide us with hope. The wise use of wetlands, as described by the Ramsar Agreement, I think that was about 1972, that established World Wetland Day on February 2nd, promoting and educating on the wise use of wetlands globally. And most every country signed on to that said, that's a good idea. Not everybody could agree on the wise use of wetlands. And of course, there are pressures that are working against the wise use of wetlands, because we're people and we do things that are not always in our long-term best interest. But what I want to do is go through some of these environmental issues that I've just laid out and describe how wetlands are a major part or should be considered as a functional part of the solutions to many of these problems. So one of the things that wetlands do and do really well is capture carbon. So here in this image, this is a peat mine. It's a wetland that has been drained, and they're carving out this really deep layer of peat and then laying it out. So in the upper left, they carve out slabs of this waterlogged peat, and they lay it out on the ground to dry, and then they can make potting soil out of it. Or more traditionally, it was used as fuel, because this stuff will burn. Once it's dry, it'll burn. But wetlands are really good at absorbing carbon dioxide from the air. So as a part of this carbon cycle between earth and water and air, wetlands are an essential part and do more to take carbon out of the air and store it permanently, I would say, second only to the oceans themselves. And the oceans may be reaching their capacity to absorb carbon. So the photosynthesis, the plant material that grows in these wetlands, capture the carbon dioxide, they die, and in these waterlogged environments, the plant material does not fully decompose, and so is stored. And in wetlands, like the one that used to be here where this image is, that carbon can be stored for millions of years. The fossil fuels that we are consuming now, the oil and coal, is produced as a result of wetlands that captured carbon from the atmosphere and deposited. So as we mine fossil fuels today, we are mining carbon that was sequestered hundreds of millions of years ago. So the potential to permanently lock up carbon from the atmosphere in wetlands is still with us today. We just need to take advantage of that. That is what I would call wise use of wetlands. Stop exposing this carbon to the atmosphere where it leads to a greenhouse gas, and preserve and restore wetlands that will help reverse that trend. So wetlands are one of the most productive systems in the world, meaning that in a wetland environment, more carbon is, through photosynthesis, converted into carbohydrates, into plant material, into living material than in any other environment, except, close contenders to wetlands are tropical rainforests and coral reefs as far as being the most productive environments, creating the most living material on Earth. Some people say, well, what about swamp gas? What about the methane? Yes, there is, but in a global picture, methane, the CH4, is minuscule, a very minor contributor to greenhouse gas compared to all of the other things that are contributing to global warming. So to reverse climate change, we need the wise use of wetlands as a sink, not a source, but as a sink for carbon. And they are extremely good at that. So drought is another issue, and wetlands can help with that. Wetlands store water above and below ground. So as wetlands capture water from from rain and from runoff. Some of it infiltrates and feeds groundwater below the surface, and that has a number of benefits. But rather than letting water just run off straight from the land to the ocean, wetlands can hold that where it can be more useful for us, and for the environment. Having water that is able to get into the ground, that's infiltration, that is a benefit for many reasons. So this, one of the great things about wildlife is that they often do a great deal of work for us for free. That's an environmental service, and beavers are one of those things. Of course, beavers are considered a pest by many, and in many parts of the country for many years, there was a bounty on them. So, boy, if you could kill a beaver and turn it into your wildlife manager, you could get some money, not just for the pelt, but just because you killed it. Whereas today, people are seeing the environmental benefits of beavers and are actually taking them into some places in the Western United States. There are projects in this kind of a beaver method of improving the environment. They are actually taking like a mule train up into the mountains in a dry river channel. They're carting these beavers up and taking some bales of straw and some stakes and blocking the water that's coming down a little stream. So they'll put the bales out on the ground. They'll stake them in place to back up a little bit of water, release the beavers. The beavers work with those bales that have already started it and build a dam and slow down that water runoff. They can build a very big pond where there was nothing at all. And by using this natural process, many tributaries have been restored so that they have a more continuous flow. They don't flash flood. And incredible things have happened, like, oh, fish populations have come back. And now there's recreational fishing downstream because of the benefit of slowing that water down and having that trickle effect, having continuous flow so that the fish can survive, building that riparian environment, managing the drought, reversing some of the effects of drought. So that's the Leave It to Beaver approach, if I can refer to another really old TV show. And of course, wetlands are very good at flood control. Here in this image, you can see the top image and the bottom image are different because the top image has some ponds and intact wetlands. And so you've got a place for water to be stopped, slowed down, held in place when there is a rain event. It doesn't all just rush to the river right away. Whereas in the lower image, you can see that the wetlands have been filled or drained. And now when it rains, the water goes directly into the river very quickly. And downstream then, the river system itself can't handle all that sudden influx of water. And so there are floods where traditionally there wouldn't have been floods. So we've seen this happen in many places where wetlands have been removed, and then there's flooding as a result, and not just because of climate change and these sudden downpours, but in some of the Mississippi flooding, there's people that have crunched numbers and said, well, if we could restore about 4 million acres, about half of the former wetlands. That would be a huge amount of water that could be held back in the upper Mississippi River basin. And if that could be done, it'd be more than enough to present a flood event like the one in '93. And I think that was one that really messed up New Orleans and other areas along the lower Mississippi. But the work had to be done in the upper Mississippi. And then if you do a cost comparison, well, what's it going to cost to take an acre of farmland out of production and restore some wetland? And it would be cost effective, even if we're talking about $500 million. So here it shows how we've managed the Mississippi traditionally is to build this big dike to keep the river on one side and the natural floodplain isolated from it for other uses, to build on or to farm. So the damage in this 1993 flood was about $20 billion because the dikes were not able to contain the river. Whereas if you paid $5,000 an acre to restore wetlands, let the wetlands do their job, it would add up to about $20 billion. So in just mitigating one flood event, it'd pay for itself. And here's an example of floodplain. When you look at this is erosion control. So when flooding waters, instead of roaring down the main channel of a diked river system, it's allowed to spread out. These are calm waters. It holds the water, it slows the water down. It's going to take weeks for this water to get back into the main channel, and it's slow. So erosion is less, the energy is less, the sediment can drop out and fertilize these floodplains, enriching them just the way the Nile did for thousands of years back in ancient Egypt. So these flooded areas can be very rich, very productive areas. And if you've ever walked along one of our local rivers after a flood in the floodplains, I've seen this along the Huron River a day after a flood. You walk out in the mucky, muddy, silted up ground, and then there's all these little fish that get stranded. You've just created a very rich environment. A friend of mine has a hayfield in just this kind of location. Some of the best hay in the county because it catches these floodwaters, and it doesn't hurt the hay at all.
Does the hay also catch the fish?
Yes. So that's part of the nutrient load that this hayfield receives.
It's goodies for the birds too, probably.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, connecting floodplains, letting the floodplains do their work is a kind of free wetland service that can be provided if we just let it. And of course, recharging groundwater. I don't want to go into a lot of detail on this diagram, but aquifers are where water is stored long-term, and it slows the flow to the ocean. But you see here, the river in between, rivers are usually connected to the groundwater aquifer. And so during a drought, a river can still be receiving regular supplies of water and continuing to flow because it is slowly percolating in from the aquifer itself. But if there's no wetlands to capture that rainwater and let it soak in, then that aquifer can become diminished, and then that affects the river itself. So rivers, here in Lorain County, the Black River does this quite a bit, is that the flow stops in summer. It becomes a series of stagnant pools, sometimes for many weeks or months, depending on rainfall. It's mostly direct rainfall driven rather than aquifer driven kind of a river, the way the environment is right now. And of course, biodiversity. Wetlands have the greatest biodiversity. Those of us who are birders love going to wetlands because we see really great birds there. And that's just the things that are most obvious are the birds, but the rest of biodiversity in smaller animals, in amphibians and reptiles, in macroinvertebrates, it is just incredibly rich in wetlands. That's where the biodiversity is. Whether you're talking about a seasonal wetland like vernal pools in some of our woods or in some of the great coastal marshes that we have, especially in along the western basin of Lake Erie, those are the rich areas. So it compares in diversity to rainforests and coral reefs in species richness. Very productive areas. And of course, wetlands assist in cleaning up the water and reducing the risk of harmful algal blooms. The fact that Ohio has this program called H2 Ohio and is contributing millions of dollars to wetland restoration across the state is having a tremendous impact on water quality because they're funding a lot of wetland restoration projects where water is now intercepted by wetlands before it gets into the major trunks of rivers flowing into Lake Erie or directly into Lake Erie itself. And they're also working on the Ohio River watershed as well. I shouldn't just narrow that just down to Lake Erie. It is throughout the state in both of our watersheds, Great Lakes watershed and the Ohio River watershed as well. And wetlands do a fantastic job of absorbing nutrients. That's the main thing we think of with algae blooms. Phosphorus is the biggest issue in the Lake Erie watershed. Nitrogen is the biggest issue in algae blooms in the Ohio River watershed. But it's nutrients in general, whatever you throw at it, wetlands are able to mitigate the effects of these nutrients. But that doesn't end there. It's not just the nutrients that are absorbed in these wetlands. It's chemical pollution as well. A lot of pesticide runoff that gets into a wetland, those chemicals can actually be denatured. E. coli gets into a wetland, it gets absorbed. It doesn't get passed on. Great way to reduce beach closures on Lake Erie is to have wetlands that remove the E. coli from the water before it gets to Lake Erie, and then they have to close the beaches. So the benefits of having wetlands intercepting the water before it gets to public use areas means that you can have waters. You know, our ultimate goal is to have waters that are drinkable and fishable and swimmable. We want all those things. And I think as human beings and citizens, we have a right to water that is drinkable, fishable, and swimmable. And many other wetland services besides. I won't belabor the point, but The list goes on and on. A great recreation, fish nurseries, where wetlands on Lake Erie are actually articulating with the lake. You have huge fish nurseries. If the fish can get in there and breed, that's where they love to spawn. Slowing down water surges, shoreline stabilization, wetlands do all of this. In some communities, Native Americans used to get wild rice from these coastal wetlands. In some places in Wisconsin, they still are. And places for fur and fiber, other resources that humans that live close to the land are able to make use of. Just to get slightly off track, there are some people that speculate that where the Tigris and Euphrates River go through Iraq and end up in the Persian Gulf, there's a large marshy area that some people think was the origin of the story of the Garden of Eden. Yeah, it's going back 10,000 years or something like that. Just a little bit older than Leave It to Beaver. So Ohio Wetlands Association is the nonprofit that I've stepped away from. Now I want to turn my efforts to wild ones, but we say wetlands for a better Ohio, wetlands for a better world, I think, and I'll be happy to take questions. And I will stop sharing.
I have a question.
Sure. Let me figure out how to stop sharing.
Oh.
Stop share. Yes.
So
okay.
My name's Mary. I am new here.
Hi, Mary.
You are definitely preaching to the choir. I love this. This is like wonderful information, and I agree with it all. But I was curious when you were talking about reclaiming the wetlands, say like along the Mississippi or, wherever, and how it would pay for itself. And I hear what you're saying, but what would like the farmers say, or the people who are living off that land? I mean, I kind of want to because that's always going to be this argument back to me, at least when I talk to people about stuff like this or just having conversations. And it's like, but you're taking away their land for farming. And I'm like, well, yeah, but like half the time they can't farm it, right? Or I don't know how often, but because it's flooding and you're messing with Mother Nature. So like, yes, you pay them for the land, but what about like what they consider their livelihood? What is the answer to that? Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. And that is the really big issue. And I think most people would argue that there is no authority, federal or state, that is going to have the will or the power to come in and say, this land is not yours anymore, because we're going to do this or that to it. So that whole idea of eminent domain is not a popular one. Especially when we're talking about 4 million acres or something like that.
Right.
And that is very true here in Ohio, in the Great Black Swamp in Northwest Ohio. So you don't have to go to the Mississippi. It's right here in our own state. And the people who settled the Maumee River Basin area were the last place to settle in Ohio because it was so difficult, because it was so wet, and it was impassable for most of the first 100 years that Ohio was a state. And the people who really toughed it out and cleared that and drained that don't want to reverse it. They worked hard. And now they've got some of the most productive farmland in the United States.
Right.
So, but there are some places that are marginally productive because they are not as well drained as some of the others. That the investment in infrastructure still hasn't been done to make it so that you can get a good crop every year. If you ever drive up Route 2 between Sandusky and Toledo in the spring, you look at those fields, they're all flooded. You look at the ditches, they're canals.
Yep.
And it's all at lake level. So there's land that is a real challenge. So if you've got to run a pump the size of a big diesel tractor and your ditch is above grade, you got to pump it up into a ditch because your land is so low, there may be an opportunity there to convert marginal or very, very low profitable land into wetland. And that is being done. That has been done. Many of those areas along Lake Erie, along Route 2 there, along the Western Basin, were never converted to farmland because people said, oh, this is great duck hunting. We're just going to keep this in marsh and use it for recreational purposes. And those have been some of the best conservationists that you could hope for. I'm not a hunter, but I know the work that they have done and the wealth that has been put into some of those hunting clubs in order to stabilize the populations, in order to make them work for biodiversity and for their own pleasure and recreation, that sort of thing. But yeah, it takes willing landowners. At least that's the game plan that I see, and that is happening. So there's groups in Northwest Ohio. One's called the Black Swamp Conservancy, and they've been really good at finding willing landowners that say, "Hey, this land would be better used as a natural area than as a marginal piece of farmland." And so as that happens, then bit by bit, you can get some of that back. And that's what the H2 Ohio program has been doing also.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Does anybody else have any other questions or even comments? So just so everyone's aware, and I know sometimes it's not always popping up, but during these meetings, our chat is usually pretty popular. So make sure to pull it up and keep in there to see what people are posting in the chat. There's been a few links already and some good discussion items. So just something to be aware of. Thanks, Ray, so much for that.
Yeah, it'd be great to see you, some of you at Vernalpalooza.
Yes, and it was also mentioned apparently
there's a link. Yeah.
ODNR OSU, I'm assuming the extension has a Woodland Stewards webinar tomorrow on creating vernal pools. So lots of good stuff.
Excellent.
All right. Laura, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Do you want to go through our new members?
Yep. Hi everyone. So my name's Laura and I am the membership chair for Wild Ones. We also have Jane. I think she's out of town this week, but we are happy to welcome 18 new members since our last meeting, so about January to now. So I heard some people are new. You might have been the last couple months, but we're so grateful to have you all here. And just want to let you all feel welcome. If you are not a member, we know that some people are maybe interested but not sure. If after today you feel like you want to become a member, we've got this QR code that you can scan with your phone, or this link that you can join Wild Ones make sure you join the Greater Cleveland chapter. So we're over 100 members now, well over that at this point, and just really excited to have you all here.
Thanks, Laura. All right, another announcement. We have a welcome to the team. Sherry Bowers is our new education program chair. Sherry, I saw that you were on. Do you want to give us a little intro? You're on mute. Hold on.
Yes. So I'm in my backyard right there, that picture of me in front of a silky dogwood I planted about 2 years ago. A switch turned on and I started becoming very interested in native plants, and it just kind of took off from there. As you see, trees fall in my backyard. I lose cottonwoods and other things, but sometimes it fills up with water back there. Well, always in spring. But then I have my two dogs with me. Zeus is on the right. He's a senior dog. And then on the left is Jersey. I adopted him a couple months ago from the APL and was trying to get them to pose. So my goal for 2024 is to work on my monarch way station and just keep planning. And of course, I'm going to be busy with wild ones. And that's about it.
Thank you. We're excited to have you. It's going to be great. And we love dogs here. So your dogs are very welcome in this crew. All right, next we have some volunteer opportunities. Diane, would you like to take over for a few slides?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm Diane. I'm the treasurer and the volunteer coordinator. I've been speaking with a few of you. It's been so much fun to welcome a lot of the new members and get to know you. And so I'll just go over some of these volunteer opportunities. Some of you might have seen these before, so I won't read them all. I'll just quickly go through the slides. First of all, social media. We always have need for that. Jessica laid a great foundation of creating lots of cool posts for you all. And so we want to keep that going and really get more and more folks, interested in, helping create, more social media for everyone. Secondly, we have grant chair, which would basically just be a person to help us go out there and search for grants that we can apply for that, kind of fit with our organization. A couple of us are going to start working on that anyway. And if anyone else has experience with that and can even give us a leg up and not necessarily be a chair, we welcome that too. Whatever knowledge you have, we'd be willing to take that on. Administrative support. This is kind of a catch-all for really just anything that would relate to admin type work, from helping check emails to supporting any of the officers when they're out, or with anything that might have to do with communications, etc. So we can define this however anyone might be interested in helping. So let us know if you're interested. Fundraiser chair. This is another way for us to get funds into our Wild Ones accounts. And as the treasurer, we always are looking for opportunities to do that. That just makes our chapter stronger in terms of what we can offer to our members and to the community to meet our mission. So folks, even if you don't want to be a chair, again, if you have some skills in that area, can give us a leg up and help us, at least just create a foundation, a base. We would love your knowledge and experience in this area as well. Publicity chair. This is important as we start to really do much more with managing our communications outside of the organization. helping us figure out what are the best strategies when we have something like the Northeast Ohio Habitat Quarter that we want to, publicize into the community, because it's not just for the members. It is for the members, but it's not just for the members. So how do we do more in that way? The Keystone Workshop team, the teams has definitely been established, but we're going to need people to continue to help develop and design the programs and then facilitate a workshop or two. Specifically, we have some needs in the Cuyahoga Valley. I know we have a lot of educators out there. So even if you can just do one class, that would be awesome. We'll take you where you are. We don't want to take up all your time, but we love your energy and your knowledge and whatever passion you can bring to teaching the world a little bit more about native plants. Photography chair. Yeah, this doesn't have to be a chair as well, but someone to just, help coordinate and manage some pictures as they come in. And how do we, use those and just keep it organized. Take some pictures yourself, remind people to take pictures, etc. Communications, that's really important to us, and we need to continue and continue to improve in this area, because again, we want to get the word out. It's so important what we're trying to do, and our mission is so important to us. We are going to be having some tabling opportunities, which basically what that means is if we go to an event, we're just putting a table up and presenting wild ones to the world a little bit. So folks that can, spend a few hours, most of those are usually on Saturdays, which can be good or bad for our members. But you don't have to have any experience, just come and we'll show you what to do. And it's a great way for any of you new members as well to just get involved a little bit, get your feet wet, see, what's the lay of the land, what do we talk about, what do we do? So next slide. Events coordinator. This one's pretty critical role for us right now because we have so many events coming up. So if you have some skills in organizing, this doesn't mean you have to go to every event. This doesn't mean you need to coordinate every event, but to just get us a baseline. We've gotten so big as far as our membership and the number of activities and events that we hold, that we really need someone to just help us keep it all organized and have some standard work about how we do these things, and work with other people to create the best events and best tabling activities that we can. And of course, if you like our social media and you have some ideas about how we could create more educational posts, maybe you just you like researching. Maybe you're the person that always Googles things when you're in your little group, and you just love to find out, well, what does that really mean? Maybe you could look something up and spend 15 minutes creating something about a flower or something about, a woodland plant, or something you found out that you thought was interesting and you just want to share. We would love to get that information for you, and we can create the post and put it out there. So anything, we're open to all ideas and all types of efforts that you can make to support the chapter.
Thanks, Diane. That was very well said. I appreciate that. And our emails here also, wildonesgreatercleveland@gmail.com. That goes for any questions, inquiries. If you're interested in possibly helping us out with something or just have a question in general, that's our email. That's how to get a hold of us. All right, next is chatting a little bit about the House Bill 364. Jessica, would you like to go over this? We can kind of tag team it a little bit.
Sure, I wasn't quite prepared, but okay. All right. So actually, there's one or two bills, I should say, before I say House bills, that are going forth. One with Ohio, one federal, that goes along with our mission. And specifically, this Ohio House Bill 364 it is helping address some laws that make certain things illegal. So a great example of this is a lot of people don't realize that even sharing native seeds is actually illegal in the state of Ohio unless they've been tested. And this is just like you sharing with a neighbor. This is not this is not even with regards to sales. And violators can be subject to $250 and jail sentences up to 30 days. Now, I'm not sure how often this is enacted. And there's a few other things that this bill is trying to address. But so you can see here also the current law that they're also trying to fix. So this is, like I said, trying to fix a lot of injustices within Ohio. But the current Ohio law also requires the destruction of milkweed, ironweed, and other Ohio native weeds along certain roadways. As we well know, milkweed is a host plant for monarch butterflies, and ironweed is also a very critical species. I know many, cities also discourage or outlaw, a variety of other native plants. Obviously, it's not fixing all of this, but do you want to take the other half, or do you want me to keep going?
Sure. Yeah, no, I can do it. So
Okay.
that's how it exists now. So this House bill is proposing to switch that up. So the bill would exempt the non-commercial seed sharing. So that way, organizations like us or any, other exchange with your neighbor, like Jessica said, there would be no penalty. Obviously not sales, but for us who, we have seed collecting events, we then share seeds. So it would also remove the listing of specific plants that must be removed from the roadsides, like milkweed, ironweed. And just so everyone knows, this is a very much more layman's terms summary of this bill. It's quite in depth, and we can definitely provide links to what the whole bill is. It's very difficult to read. It's very legalese terms. So these descriptions actually came from Wild Ones chapter in Dayton, who actually made this really nice flyer with all this information, kind of dumbed down for those of us who don't read bills all the time. Yes. So the other part of this is, what's the process for enacting the law? So they have to get approval from the Ohio House Agricultural Committee, and then the committee sends the bill to the House for vote. If it's approved, then it goes to the Ohio Senate. So what can you do? So the bill right now is in the House, I want to say Ohio House Agricultural Committee. So you can start contacting committee members and urging them to approve the bill. Their email addresses are below. And again, like I prefaced at the beginning of this meeting, don't start frantically like screenshotting and writing down. We can provide Wild Ones Dayton, their PDF for anyone who's interested. And obviously, as this bill gains momentum, once it passes through the Agricultural Committee and it goes to the House, then you can write to your representatives there. If it makes it to the Senate, then you can write to your representatives there. And we're hoping to track this, and fingers crossed as it does keep progressing through, this process, we can provide some more support on how to do each of these steps as they continue. So this is something active that's happening right now that affects a lot of us. So, we wanted to bring it to light and just let everybody know, hey, this is going on. right to the right to your agricultural committee for the state. Again, it's the whole state of Ohio. So Jessica, do you know how many Wild Ones chapters we have in Ohio offhand? I know that's a really strange question.
I believe it's 7. I believe 2 of them are seedlings.
Okay. Okay. So there's 7.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like a lot, you know, of us to support something like this if we get the word out. So does anybody have any questions on this? I don't know if we can answer everything, but we can try to the best of our knowledge.
So we'll be sharing more of this information through posts, and we'll probably make a special email as well. And it will include like a basic template recommended when reaching out to these individuals.
Yep.
So
Thank
more
you.
to
Can we
come.
make a video to promote this? I'm picturing scenes of, you know, people, you know, sharing heirloom tomato seeds over the backyard fence with their neighbor, and, you know, blue lights flashing kind of stuff.
Yeah, actually, I think the other I'm not as familiar with some of the other seeds, but actually, I think when we were trying to read the laws overall, there was quite a bit when it comes to seed sharing in general that was illegal. So obviously, this only addresses part of it, but we'll see what we can do because it is very difficult to get through. This even to get to this took a couple weeks with a couple people to try to pull out some pertinent details.
I mean, what if I just give my neighbor a tomato that has seeds in it?
A bouquet of ironweed.
And it better not be one of the patented ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother set of laws.
Tell them they got to eat it.
Destroy the
Dispose
evidence.
of the evidence.
Yes, Betsy, we're all lawbreakers. Don't be surprised if breaking the law is the song that we use for social media on this one.
Or the cops theme.
Oh yeah.
What you gonna do when they come?
I was gonna start singing, and then I realized there's a lot of people on here, so I'm not gonna do that.
All right, so it's a video.
There we go. We can all take little videos of ourselves with our seeds.
This could be really fun. This could be really fun.
Yep. Be a lawbreaker.
Yes. Yeah, so more to come on that. Templates for writing to committee members and eventually House and Senate members as well. And, you know, I know even just how to find your representatives, you know, we'll include information like that as well. All right, so we had some recent events since our last chapter meeting. The first one was back in January on the 27th. The Cleveland Seed Bank had their annual seed swap. And as you can see from the photo on the right, it was a happening place. Does anybody who was there want to share a statement about it?
A lot of law breaking.
Law breaking. Don't look.
I see a cop in the back. What's that? What the heck? He's just swapping seeds. He doesn't even know there's a law.
It was very busy in the first hour, which was open to members only.
Oh.
And then after that first hour at 2 o'clock or whatever it was, the floodgates opened, and it got really busy then. Oh my goodness, there was hardly room to turn around.
I'm pretty sure that picture on the right was from the first hour because there wasn't even that type of space after the 2 o'clock hour.
We didn't have time to take pictures after the first hour.
Yeah.
Well, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm glad you got some in the first hour. Look there's even a baby breaking the law in there.
And the band was great. That jazz band played nonstop that whole time, and they were wonderful.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nope. And there's a native plant or seed table or two, but lots of other great vegetable and other gardening tables around. Was it the Cleveland Public Library was there? There was Rust Belt Riders. There was um, a place that made sourdough, and there was free sourdough kits and tons of other great pieces. So highly recommend that this is an event. Anyone that's available to attend, it's a really great event.
Thanks, guys. And then we also had a seed social at Ray's house. So thanks, Ray, for hosting. Does anyone want to chat a little bit if they were there? How it went?
Well, I can tell you, it's always a happening place at Ray's. You never know what kind of trouble you're going to get into. There we are getting into big time trouble.
This
If
is the
only
beginning
police
of
knew
the
what we were up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have busted us all.
Activity.
Yeah.
This is where the conspiracy thrives.
Right.
In my house.
In here, it's the epicenter of conspiratorial and illegal activities.
Yes.
Oh, that's something to promote there.
Well, we'll be promoting 2 more of those events in March.
Right. We had winter sowing Keystone Workshop. Our first one in Cuyahoga County, which was at the Rocky River Nature Center back on February 4th. There was a great presentation given by Ray. And as you can see, there were some dirty hands. So Ray, how did that one go?
It went really well. So originally we thought we'd do one workshop at 1 o'clock, and that filled up right away. We said, all right, well, let's do a second one at 3. And I'm not sure that filled up, but there were drop-ins. It was such a beautiful day. There were thousands of people at the Nature Center that day, just enjoying the park. And people just kind of dropped in and said, oh, yeah, I could plant something too. Yeah, can I have one of these? Oh, sure. Yeah, so there were lots of volunteers beside. The Nature Center was really good. The staff was excellent and provided us with everything that we didn't have and needed, and took care of us really well.
Good. Good. I remember it was very warm that day. So I think that that was great that you guys got drop-ins from people just visiting the park that day.
Yeah.
We also had our winter book club that took place at the Nature Center at Shaker Lakes. That was on Doug Talamy's Nature's Best Hope. It was in person and virtual. Jessica, do you want to give a quick description on that?
Yeah, it was a great event. It was the first time that we'd done some sort of book club. And I think we had a pretty decent turnout both in person and online. And I think it was great because it's, unlike some other book clubs, you might just talk about the theme of the book, but in this case, you could talk about the actions that you can take away, or, things along those lines that pertain to our mission. And the other part that was really great is we were very fortunate to have a special guest, Sarah Franklin James. She is the upcoming author of Nature's Action Guide, which is the companion book for Nature's Best Hope. And we are very fortunate to be working with her because a select group of Wild Ones Greater Cleveland chapter members were selected to preview her upcoming book and give her early feedback. So that probably won't be happening until March, maybe close to April. But they're still going to be working closely with her in the near future. And then once she's ready to publish, which a little questionable right now, but if I was going to gut check it, I think April might be optimistic, and I think it's going to be probably May. So probably we'll have a second book club roughly about a month after she publishes. That way it gives everyone like a month or so to read it, and then she is going to host another event with us. So more to come. Very exciting.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica.
Hey, Janice.
Yes.
I think we have some members who might have been there. I don't know if there's anyone else on the call that wanted to. I just thought I'd offer that up if anyone else wanted to comment on that event.
Yeah.
Or not. It's okay.
It was a good suggestion.
Okay.
You have to watch time a little bit because we still have another little thing.
Okay.
All right. So upcoming events we have another winter sewing workshop at Lorain County Community College coming up Saturday, February 17th. Just as a reminder to everyone, all of these events are on our website. We have another seed and social event in Medina. That's going to be Sunday, March 10th. We have a very exciting, we're kind of doing a ring in spring with Greater Cleveland Wild Ones social event. It's going to be at Forest City Brewery in Ohio City. Julie and myself have been planning it. It's going to be, let's see if I can get this description good, but essentially when you register for the event, there's going to be a place where you can upload a photo into a Dropbox. So the photo can be an aerial of your house or just a photo that you've taken of your yard, of any of your planting beds, or even a street view from, Google Maps or the like. And you submit the photo to us. And then at the event, we're going to come with everything printed out for you. We're going to come with trace paper and vellum and fun coloring utensils, design books, plant books, all of our knowledge, and we'll help you sketch out some plans for spring and for summer and fall and whenever you want to plant. So it's going to be a great event to flex our creative juices and hopefully get everybody excited about the upcoming planting season in their yards. So that event was just posted today on our website, so take a look. Registration is required, so that way we know who's coming, and hopefully we'll see you on March 19th, which is the spring equinox. So we'll see you all in spring. Another Seed and Social event is going to be in Akron that Diane is hosting Sunday, March 24th. And then we have two, I added these on just to get on people's radar. We have two tabling events coming up in April that we know of for sure. The first one's going to be at the Akron Zoo on Saturday, April 20th. And then the other one is going to be in Stowe in Summit County on Saturday, April 27th. So again, these are tabling events. If you want to come hang out with us and see what standing at the information table is all about, let us know. We'd love to have you. And then last but not least, we have our native book show and tell for discussion here at the end. Hopefully everybody has something in mind that they would like to share with the group. So Julie, how do you wanna do this?
Well, we've got just a little bit of time. So I wanted to start it out by saying, I want to give new members or members we haven't heard from yet priority. And basically, this is just an opportunity to chat a little bit about what your favorite book about native plants is, or it doesn't even have to be a book. It could be like a podcast or an online resource, or just like a reference or an inspirational source that you really like. So I'll go first just to give you a little time to collect your thoughts, but I'd really love to hear from you all. So I brought my Newcomb's Wildflower Guide. There are, there's some very complicated plant guides out there, and then there are ones that are sort of very general and not super helpful. This is like, for many a botanist, their first plant book, and it's really useful because it covers the Northeast, which includes the Cleveland area. It has most of the flowering plants in our region, and it's actually pretty simple to use. If you ever get a hold of one of these, definitely read the introduction because it's got this ingenious little system. If you see something that's in flower, it will help you identify it, and it's got lots of pictures, some of them black and white, some of them in color, but it's a great way to start learning to identify plants in the wild.
Julie, you stole my book.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say the same book.
Oh my gosh, Ray has 3 of them. Yes,
you too.
It's my favorite too.
I thought I'd bring it up in case anyone hadn't heard of it, but
everybody's heard of it.
Classic.
Textbook. But it's still great.
Who wants to go next? Hop right in because we don't have a ton of time. I'm gonna call on people.
Yeah.
Well, how about Helen? Helen sounds like she's got some opinions about
Well, I was agreeing with the Newcombs. That was what we took into the field when I was studying with Professor Wilder at CSU. That was part of the textbook that we had to have for that particular class. And it serves me well. I don't ever want to be without it. If I travel somewhere where I know I'm going to be seeing wildflowers or wild plants, I take that book with me.
Yes, I've taken mine to Pennsylvania quite a few times.
It's getting dog-eared, and I pressed plants within its pages and stained up the pages, and it's just been through a lot of adventures with me. Great book to have.
Glad to hear the Newcombs love.
Jane, it looks like you have one. Do you want to unmute?
Yeah.
Can you unmute
yourself, Jane?
We can't hear you, Jane.
Jane, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Are you able to push the mute button on your screen?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. We got you now, Jane.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. This is really a good book. I got it at Loganberry. She gives amazing descriptions, medicinal uses by indigenous people, great pictures. It's really wonderful.
Spring wildflowers.
Spring wildflowers of the Northeast.
I think I just bought one of those.
Who's the author?
Carol Gracie.
Thank you.
It's
For those who don't know.
Is that the book that you mentioned or had on your one post about? You want to share that information with people?
Sure. So Princeton Publishing is having a book lovers sale right now as like a play for Valentine's Day. And they have some books that are 75% off. And I might have gone a little crazy and bought 6 books, one including the one that you just had, Jane. And I posted a few if you're a member, and if you're on our member-only Facebook group, I posted the link in there. There's I forget what the QR, or not QR code, the checkout code is. But I think it's just on their website. You can take a look. But for those of you who are book lovers, they have a great nature series through Princeton Publishing for, a lot of different field guides and floral books. So
great tip.
This was $14 at Loganberry.
I love that bookstore.
This
I mean, this is
just in the. Sorry, you
Oh.
done, Jane? Sorry.
what did you say, Ray?
If you're done,
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
You don't, no, you're good. I'm done.
Okay, this Northeast Ohio goldenrods. There's a couple dozen of them. It's a lot more than what you might think. And this was put out by Judy Semrock and the fine folks at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. It's great. It's starting in August. It's nice to have at your side when you're out, because there's a lot of different goldenrods you don't want to miss.
It seems like that's another popular one, Ray, because Aaron put that same one in the chat. I like that we all have agreeing.
Yeah.
Love that one. Beautiful illustrations. It's really a neat one.
I'd also like to put a plug in for libraries as well, since I am a librarian. I think that it would be great to see people visit their library to check out books, because the more checkouts, especially with certain items, we like to replace books with newer editions, and there's just great resources too. And I would also encourage you to talk to your local library and ask them to put a few books on their shelves. We're always looking for suggestions, and remember, yes.
This is my library shelf. These are all the expensive books I can't afford that I got at the library.
Yeah. Is this one any good?
Yeah, go ahead.
At the library.
Yes, if you stop sharing your screen, then we can see people's books.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, Diane.
I don't know if it's a favorite. I just got it at the library. Oops, let's see. Can you see it?
Here, now we can see it. You're not as blurry. Yep.
I don't know. I just thought it would be simple, so I got it. Check out.
Oh, that's a great book, The Language of Plants.
Ooh.
Let's see.
Language of Plants.
Oh, you have a lot.
Small library.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did you steal these from the library?
Oh, I checked them out. And you know what? Here's my receipt to show I checked them.
Thank you.
The advantages to having an in with the system.
Well, and you know, sometimes visiting the Friends of the Library when they have their book sales, sometimes you'll find books there that are, you know, maybe there's an updated edition or an updated version of that same book that is now on the shelf in the library, and the other one is you know, they discard it for the Friends of the Library book sales. So that's a great place to shop as well.
It's a good place to look before you buy.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Language of Plants, is that one specific to a certain region?
This one is The Language of Butterflies. And
butterflies.
Butterflies. Okay.
And I think it's more of a global perspective. I have not, I just checked it out 2 days ago, but it's published in 2020. And I think it's more global, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
We've got some mysterious people on the call, Anya and Agnes. I don't know if you want to, I don't want to put you on the spot or make you be on camera if you don't want to, but if you wanted to just unmute yourself and share something, I'd love to hear from you guys. But no pressure.
Hey, Agnes here. I'm not going to get on camera. I don't feel well, so I don't look fabulous. But I don't have a favorite book yet, so I'm looking at the ones that you guys are presenting, and we'll, you know, take a look-see at them.
All right. I hope you feel better soon. Thanks. Hi, Anya.
Hi. I don't know if you can see me or hear me, but hi, I'm new. Just wanted to say hi, everyone. To everyone, I'm getting a lot of good ideas for books from everyone. the one that I wanted to share is I don't know if you can see, it's American Wildflower Florigium that I got for my birthday, and it combines information about different wildflowers across the United States with these beautifully drawn illustrations. And I don't think you can see them, unfortunately. It doesn't look like they show up on the camera, but they're gorgeous. And so I just love getting inspiration from looking at the beautiful images.
That's awesome. What's the last word? Did you say? Well,
I'm probably not saying it right because I think it's Latin, but it's Florilegium. I'll put it in the chat.
I put my best shot, but I probably spelled it wrong. Thank you.
Close. Yep, very close. Very nice to meet everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Laura and Jack, do you want to talk about your book?
So I put Gathering Moss in the chat. If anyone has not read Braiding Sweetgrass, I would highly recommend it. And then I found out that the author, she had written Gathering Moss first, and it's very beautifully written. It's not like specific to like Ohio or anything, but they're just really nice books to read. So I enjoy those. We're also big Doug Tallamy fans, and we went on a kick and read Nature's Best Hope a couple years ago, and then we read his book on oak trees. If you want to fall in love with a tree, then read his book on oak trees. And we were so happy that we have like a little grove of white oak trees in our backyard. So it made us even more excited when we figured that out. So those are probably the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
That's awesome.
I had a coworker who was reading his oak one. I might try and steal it or borrow it from him once he's done. So that one looked very interesting. So I'm glad to hear you guys liked it. All right.
I feel like everyone went. Did Jessica get a chance?
I was just gonna say, Jessica, do you have one? Was it said already?
You mean I have time other than Wild Ones to read? I am a slacker when it comes to this. I am still trying to get through Nature's Best Hope. So
we're spending the time on.
That is okay.
Yeah. Great book.
I think that's all we had. I have my last slide of just, follow us on social media. Thanks everybody for coming today and for sharing and talking with us. We'll see you in March, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, guys. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.